A common trait with people who have BPD or borderline personality disorder is that they can strategize as cold and calculated as full Machiavelli, right? But they can't implement anything or embody any type of teachings. And what I've noticed is that when you are naturally creating sexual tension, when you have a full sack, you have to be very, very mindful of the individuals who have BPD, because half of their brain is super logical and the other half of their brain is just pure emotional. Now, of course, that's most people, but for the person who has BPD, if you've never been around somebody with BPD or avoidant attachment styles, these types of individuals, they'll try to cling on to you for long enough to where they feel like they're safe, and yet at the same time they're going to try to push you away because they feel safe. And so one thing that I've seen come up over the past couple years specifically is the introduction of more men realizing how many women have mental illnesses, and how many men are realizing that they don't themselves necessarily have mental illnesses. They just don't have a reason to want to do anything. Because like Kevin Samuels, he said that men don't do anything until they have to. And that's something that is very, very wise. And a lot of men just don't even feel like they have to do anything with women nowadays. They why even bother? Like, don't get me wrong, it's very flattering to be able to walk into a room and you basically have half the room of women, which is like 12 to 20 women, just kind of pining for a glance for you, or just kind of checking you out. Like, it's very flattering. And there's definitely some kind of form of ego boost that happens. You're like, oh, I am the full sack local legend. Like, oh. It's like, damn, I must be the shit, But then you realize that a lot of these women, they only find you attractive because they want your energy, or because they themselves are impulsive, and they're just trying to get you in a position where you feel like they are what you need. And the thing is that women are psychologically very they're very attuned to psychological warfare and spiritual warfare, for sure. They might not call it that, but remember, spiritual warfare exists, but it only exists on certain planes of consciousness. Once you are oriented from a place of timelessness, and for the Regal Change old timers, if you're a Regal Change old timer, by the way, go ahead and in the comments write Regal Change old timer, because I'm very curious to see how many of the Regal Change old timers, like if you're a Regal Change old timer, I would determine you're an old timer if you've been around for at least a year. If you've been around for at least a year, you're a Regal Change old timer at that point. So, because you've watched my own transformation through the spirit of the times over the past year, because I've drastically changed my perspective. I'm no longer a quote unquote follower of Christ. I embody the teachings of Christ, but I don't necessarily follow. And depending on your semantics, you might see that as one and the same. That's a whole different subject. But the thing is naturally creating tension sexually comes from you being the commandments, right? Because everybody wants that. And sexual power this is something that I talked about in a video recently, where I said Maharaji said that sexual power creates God. Now what I'll say is that horniness is the Kundalini energy. Horniness, or sexual power in of itself, is going to create the soul of existence. because that is the energy. That Kundalini energy is the meeting of Shakti and Shiva. Now, I'm speaking about these symbolically as well as from a spiritual entity standpoint, you could say. But it's best to think about them symbolically more so than anything else, because that keeps you grounded no matter how you view, no matter what you perceive it to be. If you just see it as a symbol and not negating the symbol, then you're going to stay grounded. But, this is one of the reasons why you naturally create this. Like, have you ever heard of these stories of the monks? They're just meditating, and they have like all of these women flocking to them in the forest, from thousands of years ago. Have you ever heard these stories? I've heard these stories, and, it's very interesting because when you are actually just being the commandments, you're not trying to follow the commandments. You're actually just keeping them. Now, Jesus Christ also said that if you love me, you'll keep my commandments. Well, that's a very interesting phrase, because if you love me, you'll keep my commandments. You'll keep them. And that sounds conditional, right? That sounds conditional. But he's not saying that to be conditional. He's saying that if you want to be aligned, this is what you do. He's not saying, well, if you do this, then you'll have love. That's not what he's saying. He says, if you love me, you'll keep my commandments. He's saying there's an alignment process that happens. And when that alignment process happens, you're going to emanate a sense of home for these women. And for the men too, but specifically we're talking about sexual tension. So for the women, a lot of reserved women, for example, they just want to feel like they can express themselves freely. Now, most women want to be able to feel this way, but especially a reserved woman. She doesn't want to express herself for no reason. She wants to be around somebody that can actually listen, as well as engage meaningfully. It's kind of like, this woman, she actually has thoughts and feelings. She's not just a robot, like all the other women. Because that's a lot of women. They all want to talk about their personality, and yet all of their personalities are basically the same anyway. And their personalities don't even exist. Personality is a construct, much like networking. Networking is a construct. I truly don't think that you need to network in order to be successful, however you want to pronounce that, or pronounce it in your own domain of view. Like, what is your perspective of success? I don't think you necessarily need to network per se. What you need is presence, and the networking will just come on its own. It's much like if you just allow yourself to express the soul existence through you, then what's going to happen is going to happen, and people are going to see that as your personality, but you just trust that it's just the process in which you're ever flowing. So the thing that we have to be more mindful of as we maneuver forward into this realm of full Sakian power is to harness this power with a sense of godlike mastery education. Now, what I've noticed is, and I've seen this happen in everyone that I've done a godlike mastery initiation with. So I have the godlike mastery offer, right? And it's a 3-month program in a system to help you get out of systems. That's the aim. And for the first month, we do the physical. Second month, we focus on the emotional. And then the third month is the spiritual. Now, without fail, since February, every single person that I've done a godlike mastery offer with, that transition from the emotional into the spiritual integration is the most difficult. And, I give these people an awareness of that. I'm going through, one of the reasons I'm talking about this is it's happening right now with one of my initiates. And so I'm curating the understanding that yes, this is going to be a transition point. It's okay. Like this is where the shadow and the ego really tries to fight back, right? Because the old timeline is going to try to seep into the new timeline and going to try to destroy it. Okay, this is much like BPD, but on steroids for going from an old timeline to a new timeline. Your ego knows what it needs to do, and it doesn't want to do it. When there's an integration point, that's what happens. And so I've wondered if this is like a flaw in the system of the Godlike Mastery offer as well. Like I've thought about, well, maybe it's just, the tailoring of it needs to be adjusted. And I really don't think that that's what it is. I think what it is just, it's the graduation period into the initiation where you have to integrate. Integrating and embodying is the hardest thing that you can do, but it's also the simplest. And it's the same thing that goes when you have a full sack and you're naturally creating sexual tension. It's because you're embodying the Godlike Mastery education. It's because you're embodying the Regal Academia. In the Regal Academy, I've had many types of individuals tell me about their experiences with women and how we want to do an actual analysis of this, because there's just too many correlations to say that this is not a causation, but correlation doesn't always equal causation in the realm of the scientific method. So we have to be mindful of that. But there's just too many coincidences that don't seem like coincidences, of course, because if you're spiritual at all, you trust that there's no such thing as coincidence. Everything happens for a reason. However that reason may not be apparent in the spirit of the time, but it is going to be revealing unto itself in the long term. So all of the men that I've done sessions with as well have had this natural inclination to create sexual tension once they get to a certain point. Now, that might be 10 days for somebody. That might be 300 days for somebody else. I mean, it really depends on the individual, and it depends on their own experience. This is all very individualized. Okay, so don't get caught up in like, oh, well, I have to compare my timeline with this timeline. Don't compare your timeline with somebody else's timeline. That's like, you all know the saying, comparison is the thief of joy. It's the same type of thing when it comes to comparing timelines. If you're going to compare your timeline with somebody else's, what you're basically saying is that you are still committed to the separation of life in of itself, and you are focused on everything outside of you, not inside of you. Because when it's like what Carl Jung says, who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens. And it's going to be up to you to determine how you want to proceed forward in the spirit of the time, so that you can truly manifest that which you want to have happen. Because the vision and the idea is going to be the most important aspect of that. And then number 2 is going to be having fun ignoring reality. Let go of the expectations of the outcome. Trust that the outcome already is. Like if you want to be financially sovereign, let's say, right? Like everybody wants to be financially sovereign. If you want to be financially sovereign, you just have to trust that already is. It's not something that you need to get outside of you. Like people, it's funny how people encourage one another, right? They're like, oh, go get it, man. Go get it. You got it. Go get it. And while this is there's some intent to be encouraging in that phrase. That phrase actually only encourages separation. It's like, oh yeah, you go get it, man. It's out there for you. Go find it. The thing is it's not out there. It's in there. It's in here. It's in there. It's in here. What we try to look for us outside of ourselves is not going to be found, you're only going to be continuing the dream of separation. And if you want to create natural sexual tension, which, be mindful, because a lot of you do want that. You'll say you don't, but you do want that. Like, there was a time, even myself, sometimes I like the fact that I create sexual tension naturally. I like it. I like that I can do that on command if I really want to. I'm not going to hide that. Now, I'm not saying that that's something that you should do or that you should want or that you shouldn't want. I'm just saying that it just so happens that in the spirit of the time, in this incarnation, I very much so am aroused by my own potential to arouse. That sounds kind of strange, but that's just the truth, that's just the way that it is. Now, I'm not saying that this is something that you should do or that you shouldn't do. I'm just saying that if you feel like you want to be sexually aroused, but you want to pretend like you don't, then you're only lying to yourself and you're only perpetuating the separation and the illusion therein. So, I trust this message reached those that have eyes to see and ears to hear. If you are interested in the Godlike Mastery offer, go ahead and apply. I do not accept everybody, but for those that are truly committed and ready to invest in themselves financially and commit to the 3-month process, yes, it's available to them. Or you can just join the Regal Academy. The Regal Academy is a month-to-month membership, so you can cancel at any time. I like it like that because I want to protect the integrity of the education in there and the classes and the group calls and everything. But I also want to give you the freedom. Love is like an open palm, and that's really what I want to give. So, while yes, there's this part of me that yes, I'm making a living doing this. On the other spectrum, it's like, again, orienting ourselves from a place of timelessness while in multiple planes of consciousness. I'm giving you the option. So, peace be with you. Be blessed. Until next time.